Your network is not simply silicon, cables, and signals. It's a living, evolving organism of technology and people, and it's continually under attack. Protecting your business demands more than an element of engineering or foresight. It demands a new element altogether: Gigamon. Gigamon isn't another tool. It's a security force that permeates every part of your network, one that bonds with everything in your ecosystem to make it more resilient, more agile, and more secure. In short, it makes the security infrastructure you've engineered better. Gigamon, the essential element of your security.
ครับสวัสดีแขกผู้มีเกียรติทุกท่านแล้วก็ขอบคุณทุกท่านนะครับที่ยังติดตามรายการ Cybersecurity ของเราอยู่นะครับเป็นซีรีส์ครั้งนี้เป็นครั้งที่3นะครับก็จะเป็นการจัดในหัวข้อของ The Essential Element of Your Security นะครับโดย Gigamon นะครับก็จริงๆแล้วเจอหน้ากันบ่อยๆคราวนี้ผมก็คงไม่ได้พูดอะไรมากเพราะว่าผมไม่น่าสนใจเท่าไหร่เดี๋ยวผมให้น้องเอฟมาเป็นพิธีกรนำเสนอแล้วก็เชิญวิทยากรทุกท่านมาแนะนำนะครับขอบคุณครับ
ค่ะขอบคุณค่ะคุณสัญญาก็ขอสวัสดีแขกผู้มีเกียรติทุกท่านนะคะแล้วก็ขอต้อนรับเข้าสู่งาน Cybersecurity Knowledge Sharing ครั้งที่3ก็อย่างที่พี่สัญญาแจ้งไปนะคะว่าวันนี้จัดครั้งที่3ภายใต้หัวข้อ The Essential Element of Your Security นะคะอย่างที่ทราบกันว่าโครงสร้างพื้นฐานของแต่ละระบบหรืออาจจะเปรียบเทียบได้เหมือนการสร้างบ้านสักหลังเนื้อค่ะเราต้องให้ความสำคัญแล้วก็ปูพื้นฐานที่ดีเพราะฉะนั้นในวันนี้เองก็ทางGigamonและทางสพทอนะคะก็จะมาพูดถึงมาอัปเดตข้อมูลข่าวสารพูดถึงวิธีการที่จะช่วยให้โครงสร้างพื้นฐานบ้านของคุณเนี่ยปลอดภัยแล้วก็ต่อสู้กับตัวภัยร้ายต่างๆเพราะในระบบเน็ตเวิร์กปัจจุบันเนี่ยมันต้องมีอุปกรณ์ค่อนข้างเยอะมากเพราะฉะนั้นทราฟฟิกที่เราต้อง manage เนี่ยมันมีสูงขึ้นเยอะจะทำยังไงที่เราจะ manage ตัวทราฟฟิกเหล่านี้นะคะเดี๋ยวลำดับต่อไปขอเรียนเชิญมิสโมนานะคะขึ้นมากล่าวต้อนรับทุกท่านอีกทีหนึ่งจากเป็นมิสโมนาSales Director Regional Sales Director from Gigamon ค่ะโอเค
Sawadika. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for your attendance. So my name is Mona. I'm from Gigamon. Right now we are based in Singapore, but I fly in every month to Thailand because for the past 2.5 years, we have been having a lot of traction with the Thailand, and that's why today we are also partnering with ECDA. Thank you to SK to have this sharing session. So just to give you an understanding, Gigamon is not a Japanese company, not related to Pokemon. Yeah, so our headquarters is in Santa Clara, United States of America. So our founders 14 years ago founded Gigamon, and today Gigamon has evolved from networking to security. That's why today we are saying that Gigamon is the element of your security platform. So today you will have a long day in the afternoon because we will have a series of speakers. Graham Melville, he will be telling you about how your organization can benefit from Gigamon. After which, during the break, do come and network with us. We have our marketing people, Siu Peng, we have Daniel, my channels. So today, even in channels landscape, we are very strong with partners in Thailand. So do approach me, we can discuss some of those things. And one of those things is please do not be shy and ask any questions you have. We are most delighted to speak with you thereafter. So, without further ado, I would like to welcome Mr. Graham Melville, our Senior Director for Cybersecurity, our security solutions, to present his speech and presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm told I speak too quickly. So I'm trying very hard to speak slowly. But if I speak too quickly for you, you can always wave and do this, and that'll tell me to slow down a little bit. And do feel free to ask questions along the way as well. So I think I have everyone else's slides to start with. So here's the agenda for the afternoon. So we will be talking through what are the top cybersecurity threats. So I'll actually be sharing with you some of our findings in the field, and also a recent report that came out that we sponsored, that you can have the whole report available to you as well, but I'll be sharing some of the findings from that as well. We'll also be looking at some specific ways that our customers actually do deploy and use our products. We'll then take a break. And then we'll have some more sessions in the afternoon where we'll get a little bit deeper into explaining exactly how our solution works, and then we'll have a question and answer and some closing sessions. So with that, let's go ahead and look at the agenda for the piece that I'm going to do. So first of all, we're going to look at what's happening in the industries and what the challenges are that are out there, and how we've seen those evolve. So the report I was talking about is called the Cyber Threat Defense Report. It's been going since 2014, and it asks the same questions year after year. There's a little bit of a change, so you can actually see how things have changed over the years in the industry. It is a worldwide survey, and it's aimed at security practitioners, so those who actually work in security, hands-on, in the industries, and also companies that are at least 500 employees or larger, because there's a difference in the way that security works. And its point is to look at the security posture that different organizations have. What are their current investments? What are their future investments? What are the challenges that they are having? So as I said, it is a global report. And you'll see that there's about 1,200 respondents from 17 countries and 19 industries. So although a fair portion come from America, where I come from, this is by no means just an American report. So it does really take a global view. So what are some of the findings? Well, the first and most significant finding is the same that you'll see in a lot of these kind of reports, and that is that breaches are inevitable. So organizations are still falling victim to cybersecurity attacks at an alarming rate. And as you can see, in terms of organizations that have had more than 5 breaches in 2017, that represents 50%, over 50% of the respondents. And in terms of what their expectations are for 2018, it's actually a little bit bleak. So even more expecting to have breaches the same as in 2017. There you see that there are 60% that are somewhat likely or very likely that they believe that they will have breaches and data loss. Now, as I said, Gigamon have been looking at what the challenges are in this market, particularly as it's related to security that is based on information traveling around the network. So there are lots of other types of security, endpoint, etc. But we're looking particularly at security that is based on information that is in motion, that is traveling around the network, out in the cloud, those kind of things. And these are the top 5 challenges that, as we looked back through 2017, and actually came up with these. I don't know if any of you look at CSO online. It used to be CSO magazine, but it now is an online magazine, and the vice president of that organization is a gentleman called Bob Bragdon. And Bob and I sat down at the end of 2017 and looked at all that had been going on in the industry, and we kind of said, well, what are the top 5 challenges that people are facing in this area? And these are the 5 that we came up with. And I'd like to take a little while to dive into each, and I'll pause after each just to make sure that you've understood what I said, but also in case you have a quick question. So first is the skills shortage. And again, this came up as actually the top issue in the Cyber Threat Defense Report. So the Cyber Threat Defense Report is, coming up with the same top issue that we have found. And that is that there just aren't enough people in IT security to fill the positions in most countries, and that there's a lack of skilled personnel coming up. And this is a real problem in that if you can't operate your security organization, then how can you protect your company or your organization? And in terms of the actual shortage where it's most acute is in the responders and the IT administrators. And part of that is because there's actually quite a heavy cycle of people through that as well. So these are the people that are watching the logs, that are looking at the playbooks that they need to run to see if a threat is real or not. So you get a lot of alerts that are coming up on a screen. And I kind of liken it a little bit to the security guy on the X-ray machine at an airport. Have people ever watched the guy on the X-ray machine at the airport? I mean, do you ever wonder what he's thinking as he's looking at those bags? Is he really looking at the bags, or is he wondering what he's going to get for dinner tonight, or whether his kid's going to get to the next school, or what it is? But it's very hard when you're doing something repetitive. If you've ever had to do a job that's very repetitive, it's hard to focus and concentrate. And that's some of the issues with IT at the base level, is that, it's not a very exciting job. They want to get to the next level where they do something more exciting. So people want to move up all the time, which leaves that shortage lower down. So does that make sense? Who here runs a security team of any sort? Does anyone run security teams? Or are you seeing skill shortages? Heard of skill shortages? Doesn't apply. Don't like to be interactive with an American. Okay, let's keep going. The second issue is the speed issue. And this came out in the survey as too much data to analyze. And if you think about it, networks are increasing, the volume of data is increasing that's coming across them, and that means the security tools that are monitoring and working with that data have to keep up. So if you think about it, as the network data increases, you've got things like big data flowing across it now, IoT, you've got just transitions to high amp speed, you've got machine to machine. It's getting faster and faster. And if you're a networking person, you probably know this already, but for a 100 gig network, for the packets flowing across, if you have a full, a high speed with, fully packed pipe of a 100 gig network, between two packets, you've got 6.7 nanoseconds. So if you're a security device monitoring and securing that network with traffic flowing through it, sometimes you've got 6.7 nanoseconds to make a decision whether you let the packet through or not for inline threat prevention. So there's a big problem. And so what you've found is as these networks get faster and faster, the security devices that monitor them haven't been able to keep up with that amount of data and the volume of data and the speed that it's going through. And so you end up with this gap. And so that's a real problem as well for security tools. Too much data to analyze. Then there's the complexity. And this kind of comes in a couple of different ways. Too many products, too hard to manage, no interoperability. They were the things that came out on the Cyber Threat Defense Report survey. And as we've spoken to people and we've kind of dug down into it, one of the issues is also the number of cybersecurity possibilities and choices that you've got out there. If you go back to, say, 2014, there were about 700 companies in the cybersecurity space. And the industry, analysts and the press were saying, this is getting too much. In 2015, we're going to see a huge reduction in the number of security companies because this is unsustainable. So they'll either merge, they'll get bought by bigger companies, or they'll disappear. So now fast forward to 2017, 700 in 2014. So how much do you think it reduced to by 2017? Well, seeing as I've already worked out you're not an interactive audience, I'll give you the answer. In 2017, there are over 1,500 cybersecurity vendors offering a solution to something in the market. And you may be wondering, well, how does this happen? Why is it unique to cybersecurity that you have so many different vendors coming up? And part of the problem is this, that new attacks come along, new threats come along, and if you're a cybersecurity company, particularly if you're a public cybersecurity company, as most are, what are your shareholders interested in? Do you think they're interested in the security that the product's offered? Maybe a little bit. What they're mainly interested in, are you making money? And so let's say you've got a next-gen firewall product and it's making a lot of money. Where are you going to put your investment? To keep winning in the next-gen firewall market, or are you going to go look for a new security solution? In fact, that's not a bad example to pick, because if you think about it, Nir Zuk, who started Palo Alto Networks, the reason he left his previous company was because he had a great idea and they didn't want to invest or put time in it. And so that happens time and time again. And most of these companies, these smaller companies, actually have very smart people that used to work for a bigger company and they had an idea, or they were going to have an idea and knew that they wouldn't be able to do anything with it in that organization, so they left. And so the market kind of fosters this situation. But here's the problem. A new type of threat comes along. The big dogs in the industry don't want to invest in dealing with it because they're more interested in keeping whatever products they have going that people are prepared to pay money for right now. So a new company starts up. But you need to protect yourself against that threat, so you go with a new company. You know, a few years ago it was CASBs, Cloud Access Security Brokers. You know, there wasn't anyone that was doing cloud access security broking except for the small organizations, but people were putting their products in the cloud, and so they knew they needed to be secured, so they went with these smaller companies. So you put these point products in because they address the need, and then as the years go by, you suddenly find you've got a lot of different vendors' products in your network. In fact, Symantec did a study and found that on average, companies have 37 different types of product in their organization. And if you're a large organization, that actually translates to hundreds of security products that you have to manage and look after. And so the complexity can get somewhat overwhelming. Any questions? Does that make sense? Okay, so one of the other issues that we found is urgency. We've called it urgency. It's kind of patching, really, vulnerability patching. And that is, a few years ago, if someone said, oh, there's an issue with my product, it needs to be updated, typically what people would do would say, well, when's my next window when I'm looking to update products? You know, I do that every 3 months, maybe every 6 months, or, well, this is in line with the network. That's really difficult. I'm going to have to organize something with the networking department. Maybe we'll do that in 6 months. And if you look at a lot of the breaches that happened, I mean, the Target breach in the US is, a textbook example that lots of people now use as to how not to run your company. And one of the issues they had, they didn't patch the devices. You know, there was a known fix for the exploit that was used. If they'd patched their servers, it would have worked. If they'd been running a virtual patch on their web app firewall, they could have stopped it. There are various ways they could stop it, but they didn't have this urgency to update things. And what we found is over the last couple of years, because more and more breaches happen on things that, you know, aren't new, they were known, but they just weren't updated. The urgency around patch dating has become more of a challenge. And if you see in terms of, this question here in the Cyber Defense Threat Report, infrequent windows to take productions offline for patching is one of the biggest issues. Because particularly if you have an inline system, whether it's IPS, an intrusion prevention system, or web application firewall, to update that, you have to take it offline. And a lot of these organizations now, their business runs 24/7. So when are you able to get in line and make that change? Well, you have to pick a downtime in the business. So in America, you know, if a CVE, a common vulnerability, and a CVE, who knows what the E stands for in common vulnerability and, oh, well, I'm not the only one that's forgotten then. But basically, something's found with one of your tools, and let's say it's in the middle of November. Well, the whole of America retail in October goes on what's called an IT freeze. Nothing's able to touch the systems. And the reason is we have our big sales in November. We have a thing called Thanksgiving sale and Black Friday. I don't know if you heard about it. It's where the humans in America turn into something completely different, like out of a horror movie. And they all line up outside the store, and then they open the store and they all fight to get inside and get to the bargains first. Now, they can't take their systems down because they'd lose the business. So when you have an inline system, let's say you had a vulnerability come out just before Thanksgiving, that would be a disaster for America. They're not going to touch it. So then the attackers have between then and probably the second week of January to do what they like, because they know that the retailer isn't going to touch its system. So being able to update and patch systems is a challenge, and that's down as a big security risk as well in this report. So one of the other items that doesn't quite come through quite so significantly in this report, but certainly in our findings, and you can see it between the details, is the IT security budget. So although the IT security budgets are rising, and typically the security budget is rising faster than the IT budget, it's actually not keeping up with what's required. So although pretty much everyone says their budget's increasing in security, there are very few that said their budget was going down at all. In terms of did they feel it was enough? Oh, I got another slide I forgot about. So part of the reason for that, if you think about costs, is if you go back to early 2000s, you kind of had a couple of 2-3 maybe things that you had to worry about on security. You had your firewall, and then you had your endpoint antivirus, and you probably had a VPN, which I really should add to this slide. But now you look at it, and you have a mass of devices out there. And I talked about this earlier in complexity, but that also hits cost. In fact, I was at a CISO conference at the beginning of the year. So there's a conference that they hold in America where they award the topmost innovative CISOs from around the globe, although they're mainly from America, I do confess. And one of the things that came up as they were talking about where their innovation was, what they were doing, what their challenges were, was the budget. And this is the reason, because they had so many tools out there, they have to keep them updated. Remember, the network speed's increasing as well, but just to keep it updated and maintained and supported adds huge costs. In fact, one of the largest universities in the world that comes from the region, well, I guess I might as well say Arizona State University, they were saying that about a significant portion of their budget is spent just on supporting the tools that previous people had already bought and put in place. And so there's a huge cost that goes with that. But going back to this report, in terms of the respondents being confident that they had enough in their cyber threat hunting investments, they weren't. There was a lack of confidence, which says, yes, my budget's increasing, but I still don't have confidence that I have enough to work against these threats. So the security fundamentals are changing. There's a skill shortage out there. If it's not hit you yet, I suspect it will soon. The data volume's increasing. That gives a number of challenges. The complexity of both the architecture and the number of vendors and devices that are out there to protect you is getting more complex. There's an urgency like there's never been before. You can no longer just sit back and wait and patch in 9 months' time. Time and time again, that's proven to be an issue. And yet, to address all these, if you had an unlimited pot of gold, you could probably address them. But there's not. There is an increase in security, but it's not enough to keep up with the threats. And so the time to detect and the time to contain are too slow. We still hear about multiple months to find threats that are living within the network, and breaches continue to happen. So before we go on to the next section, does anyone want to summarize and see if there are any questions?
ค่ะก็เดี๋ยวเราแรปอัพภาษาไทยให้นิดนึงนะคะเดี๋ยวเรียนเชิญคุณสิทธิพงศ์ค่ะ Product Manager บริษัท Enforce ค่ะ
ครับสวัสดีครับผมขออนุญาตแรปอัพภาษาไทยสั้นๆนะครับ จาก Threat Report ที่ทางคุณเกแฮมได้พรีเซนต์เนี่ยเราก็จะแยกออกมาได้อยู่5โดเมนด้วยกันนะครับเป็นปัญหาหลักๆก็คือ1เรื่องของ skill 2 speed 3 complex 4 urgency แล้วก็5 cost นะครับซึ่งสกิลก็หลักๆก็คือแอดมินซึ่งอยู่ในองค์กรของเราเนี่ยอาจจะเรียนรู้ไม่ทันนะครับไม่สามารถตามเทคโนโลยีได้ทันเรื่องของสปีดนะครับจะเป็นเรื่องของ Data ที่มันเยอะมากในอดีตหลายๆท่านก็อาจจะเป็นการทำงานบน log data เอามาวิเคราะห์ใช่ไหมครับแต่ทุกวันนี้ไม่พอแล้วเราต้องเอา data in motion ก็คือทราฟฟิกที่การจราจรที่วิ่งไปวิ่งมาในองค์กรเนี่ยเอามาวิเคราะห์ด้วยเพราะนั้นมันจะ huge มันจะใหญ่มากๆนะครับซึ่ง tool security ที่มีเนี่ย keep up ไม่ทันนะครับเรื่องของ complex tool มันมีหลายร้อย vendor แล้วทุกวันนี้นะครับหลายๆคนถ้าต้องรับนัด vendor เพื่อไป present งานเนี่ยทั้งปีไม่ต้องทำอะไรแล้วครับนะครับซึ่งปัญหาของมันก็คือมัน integration กันไม่ได้นะครับไม่มีแพลตฟอร์มที่มาเชื่อมต่อกันอันนี้เป็นปัญหาหลักซึ่งตามมาด้วยการ support case ไม่ไหวถ้าเราใช้ tool หลายๆยี่ห้อนะครับแล้วก็เรื่องของ agency นะครับเป็นเรื่องของการแพทนะครับ window ของการแพทเนี่ยออกมาช้ากว่า threat อันนี้คือเรื่องสำคัญเลยอย่างที่โดนWannaCryโดนอะไรกันไปเราแพทไม่ทันนะครับซึ่งจะดีกว่าไหมถ้ามีโซลูชันมาตัวหนึ่งที่ทำให้เราสามารถ manage เรื่องของการแพทได้ง่ายขึ้นเช่น inline tool ลองกลับไปดูองค์กรนะครับว่าเราอัปเกรด firewall ครั้งล่าสุดกันเมื่อไหร่มันเป็นปัญหาที่ค่อนข้างยุ่งยากเพราะว่าต้องมีดาวไทม์เกิดขึ้นนะครับส่วนสุดท้ายเรื่องของ cost นะครับตรงนี้ cost เนี่ยจากเดิมการลงทุนในเรื่องของ security vendor มันอาจจะไม่พออาจจะต้องลงทุนในเรื่องของ threat hunting เคยได้ยิน threat hunting กันบ้างไหมครับ threat intelligence หลายๆองค์กรเขาจะมีทีมที่ research พวกนี้มันจะมี tool หลายๆตัวที่เป็น threat intelligence แล้วก็ทำ threat hunting ได้ซึ่งตัวแพลตฟอร์มของ Gigamon เนี่ยมัน support ตรงนั้นได้คือ threat hunting มันเกิดจากการเอา data in motion ทั้งองค์กรเนี่ยมาทำเป็นเชิง big data แล้วก็ machine learning นะครับอันนี้คือสรุป5โดเมนที่ทางคุณเกแฮมได้พูดไม่ทราบว่ามีคำถามใน5โดเมนนี้ไหมครับเดี๋ยวถามเป็นภาษาไทยก็ได้เดี๋ยวผมแปลให้ The question is your problem that you present in the world the government customer and enterprise customer have the same problem.
Yeah, so that's an interesting question. So, does everyone have the same problem? So, this was specifically looking at government and enterprise. We do also service the service provider market, and there are a slightly different set of problems in the service provider market because they kind of don't care if they're passing viruses through the network half the time or malware. All they care about is passing traffic. So that is different. But in terms of the issues with the government and enterprise, no, very much the same. Yeah, good question. Thank you.
ครับก็คือเหมือนกันนะครับเป็น common ปัญหานะครับมีคำถามเพิ่มเติมไหมครับโอเค
Okay, let's move forwards then. So why does the problem exist, and why is Gigamon standing up here? So if we look at the way that security is deployed today, basically you take the security tool to the problem. So you want to have an intrusion prevention system. You put it in the segment of your network that's in line. If you pull up a separate branch or a separate data center, that means you've got to put another intrusion prevention system in. If you have asymmetric routing routes or different routes into your data center, you've got to buy more tools. And so you end up with, this is actually a very simplified version because you'll notice I've only got about, 6 security tools out there, and we know that most companies have a lot more than that. So, I don't think there's a web app firewall, there's not a data loss prevention tool. Oh, yes, there is a DLP there. But, there are lots of other tools that you could probably think of, network behavioral analytics, etc., that aren't up there. And all of those fit into your network. And every time you segment for greater security, because the less traffic you can have on a segment that's, working for different things, the more secure you can be. But now you've got to buy more tools for it. And let's say you get all this stable and it's working great. And let's say you're on a 10 gig network And then the organization or the business says, well, we need a lot more than 10 gigs. We're going to move to 25 gigs or 40 gigs. Now all the security tools that you have in those different places in the network can no longer cope with the volume of traffic. And so you have to update them all. And having so many products often means you don't have enough staff. As I said, it's hard to keep up with speed. So this is exacerbating the staffing issue. It's not helping the speed issue. You actually end up with something that's very complex. As I say, this is a simplified version. It's, you know, when you think of everything that you might have in a network, there could be a significant amount more. So it's very complex. And you could have blind spots. Maybe the network was segmented, but there was no budget to put in extra security tools. So you took a chance and didn't segment that portion of the network and hoped that it would be caught higher up in, you know, the north-south. But you're no longer protected across east-west. It's difficult to patch security devices, especially those that are in line. And as I said, you've got all these tools, they've built up over the years, they need maintenance support, because otherwise, you know, as vulnerabilities come along, you're not going to get the latest patches, and they're extraordinary costs. There's also contention for access to traffic. So often these are run off span ports or mirror ports in the network. Well, who gets it? Is it going to be the DLP device? Is it going to be the IDS device? Or how are you going to share that between them? And so you end up with an inconsistent view of your traffic. And if you have these tools collecting packets, let's say you have the perfect system in every segment of the network, you have an IDS system, for example. Well, if a packet travels from the bottom and kind of zigzags through the network, you could end up with the same false positive 5 or 6 times. And so you're actually adding to the number of false positives you had. And a lot of these tools, if you think about it, if they were bought a number of years ago, don't have the capabilities or the capacity to cope with encrypted traffic. So maybe, you know, if you turn decryption on, it'll slow the tool down to a crawl. Or maybe you thought you had decryption turned on, but you didn't, so it's not seeing that traffic. There are lots of reasons why decryption can be a problem. And so what Gigaman are saying is, the security tools are probably good. I'm trusting you've made good choices on your security tools. The security tools are probably good, but the architecture is the problem. And so we believe there's a better way. So let's take a little bit of a look at inline security tools. Typically, if you, let's say you have an IPS system, a WAF system, and an ATP, you may have others as well. They will typically look at the packets, look at everything that's coming through, decide whether it needs to be blocked or not, and then pass it on to the next tool. Make the same decision and pass it on to the next tool, which is good because you do get to detect and block threats immediately. And it's just a bump in the wire, so you don't need to make significant network changes to put this in. But you now have multiple points of failure. If an IPS system goes down and it's in line, what's going to happen? The physical interfaces must match the network. So when you upgrade the system, you've got to upgrade the tools, not only just the faster tools, the interfaces. It does degrade network performance. Every one of these devices is looking at every packet that goes through the system. And particularly if they're all decrypting and re-encrypting it, to look at encrypted traffic, first they've got to decrypt it, and then before they pass it on, they're going to re-encrypt it, because it has to be re-encrypted to reach the end device. But they probably don't know that sitting below them is a WAF that's going to do exactly the same thing again. So it's wasting time. It's very disruptive to upgrade, as we've already said. If you want to take one of these devices out, you've got to stop the network to do that. There's a lot of disruption involved. And it's very hard to change whether it's in prevention or detection mode. So both things like, all these tools, in fact, can be run in prevention or detection mode. And so sometimes an organization might want to take a risk on certain traffic that if it's slowing the network down too much, they'll put it in detection mode. But with this kind of architecture, that's not possible. The other thing that's not very clearly shown here as well, but imagine if you had an architecture with asymmetric routes. So the traffic coming into the business is on a different route than going out of the business. These tools will only see half the conversation. Now, it's hard to fully inspect and assess threats if you're only seeing half of the, one way of the conversation. So is there a better way? Well, I guess that's why we're here. So to get to the point, this is what we call the essential element of security. So if you're expecting us to be a vendor that was going to tell you we have a better IDS system, a better WAF system, a better firewall, we don't. We have a better architecture. So what we do is, instead of having you have all the tools going out to every point on the network, we actually bring all the traffic back. So we have a data monitoring network that can run off mirror ports or it can run off taps. We will then watch that traffic. So we get a complete view of the traffic. We'll then feed those packets to the necessary tools, whether it's a next-gen firewall or advanced persistent threat system or DLP, whatever it is, we'll then feed that traffic to it. And we can also make sure that the tool that gets that traffic, that it's relevant to the tool. Because if you think about it, for most of these tools, particularly when they're in line, they're going to see all the packets whether they need to or not. So let's say you use, a lot of companies now use YouTube or some video service for training staff. So you're sending out regular training videos, maybe they sit up in a SaaS application. Every time someone views those videos, it's slowing down the performance of all your inline tools. Because even though they can do absolutely nothing with the video stream, they've got to look at it and say, oh, it's video, I don't care. Oh, it's video, I don't care. Oh, it's video, I don't care. If you have a lot of video, that's a lot of I don't cares that those boxes are processing. Now going forwards, particularly Google are trying to push for all web traffic to be encrypted. Now think it's got to decrypt it. That's a lot of processing power. Then say I don't care. So decrypt, I don't care, re-encrypt. Because maybe there's a tool, it's got to be re-encrypted before it hits the end device. And so a lot of cycles can be wasted. So by putting this infrastructure in, you also only send the traffic to the tools that need to inspect it. And it also enables you to have an inline bypass solution, which we'll learn about later this afternoon, that really makes it easier for patching. Plus, it's not just on-premise. This also works for remote sites, for virtual, so you get that east-west traffic that you wouldn't otherwise see that's maybe sitting in VMware virtual servers. You could have threats passing from one virtual system to another that never touched the network. We'll take that out and we'll send that to the tools as well. And the same goes for the cloud. Plus, we do have open APIs, so some of these systems do actually interact with us and give you the ability to automate a lot of those issues that gave you those staff shortages. So as I said, you can centralize your tools, you can backhaul the traffic to where it's needed. You can either have full traffic flows, you can have session flows, you can actually create metadata and IPFix records or other metadata. So for example, we pass a lot of DNS information, information on the actual HTTP transaction. So when you are using SSL, if there are certain versions of encryption that you don't allow, you find too weak, we can find those and highlight those. So there's a lot of things that can be done in the metadata. Oh, and remember I said, those tools also see a lot of packets that are the same because they're coming throughout the network. Because we're backhauling all points on the network, if that packet's hit 5 or 6 different points on the network, we'll only send it once. We won't send the same packet 6 times to a security tool so it can look at it and say whether it cares or not. We'll send it once. So as well as making the tool more efficient, it also reduces false positives, because if that packet was going to create an alert and you had 6 of them, you'd get 6 alerts going to your SIM. And then maybe the SIM would notice they're the same alert on the same packet, or maybe it wouldn't, and it would be depending how you had it set up. So this is ideal, and as I said, we do this both for this kind of backhaul, process it once, we do for service providers, government, and the enterprise. And as I said, we do this with cloud as well. And one of the beauties of this is that you can either run the actual systems in your cloud, so you could run your IPS in the cloud or your WAF in the cloud, and all the different applications and uses that we're using of that, we'd again bring the traffic to them in the cloud. Or you can actually bring it back to your data center as well. So it works either way. Okay, so that's what we do. So I explained how we see the problems, sitting down with CSO Magazine. I've explained how the Cyber Defense Report also brings out some of those. And I've just noticed that you've all got a copy of the Cyber Threat Defense Report, it looks like. So you'll be able to read through that later. So next, I'm going to take you through some real-world results. But before I do that, I'll just let you summarize and see if there are any questions on that section.
Hello ครับก็เมื่อสักครู่คุณแกแฮมก็ได้พูดถึงเน็ตเวิร์กที่เรามีกับทูที่มันมีเยอะแยะมากมายนะครับเพราะฉะนั้นปัญหามันอยู่ที่ว่าพอเรามีทูเยอะต่างคนต่างปลั๊กเข้ามาในระบบนะครับก็จะเกิดความยุ่งยากซับซ้อนต่างคนต่างปลั๊กต่างคนต่างปลั๊กแล้วเวลามีปัญหาเราหาไม่เจอว่าทูไหนมีปัญหานะครับอันนี้คือเพนพอยต์หลักๆไหนจะนอกจาก on-premise network ในสไลด์แล้วเนี่ยยังมี cloud อีกเราจะ push pull traffic จาก cloud ลงมายังไงแล้วยังมี virtualization อีกเราจะดึง traffic จาก virtualization ออกมายังไงนะครับซึ่งวิธีที่ Gigamon ทำก็คือทำการดึง traffic จาก on-premise network ออกมาเป็นแพลตฟอร์มเป็นเหมือนท่าเรือนะครับแล้วก็ให้ tool ต่างๆมาจอดที่เราดึง traffic จาก VM เป็นมาไว้ที่ท่าเรือเดียวกันใครจะใช้ก็มาต่อที่ Gigamon ดึงทราฟฟิกจากคลาวด์ลงมานะครับใครจะใช้มาต่อจาก Gigamon อันนี้คือเป็นแพลตฟอร์มที่ทางคุณเกรแฮมได้ทำการนำเสนอนะครับยังจะมีคำถามไหมครับโอเคครับขอบคุณครับ
Okay, so let's look a little bit at first of all, who use Gigamon. So we have 6 of the top 10 global banks, 83 of the world's Fortune 100 companies, 8 of 10 of the top health providers in the US, and 7 of 10 of the top retailers. All of the top 10 federal agencies. So someone asked me earlier, I think outside, how much of our business is in government? A lot. We do a lot in government. 8 of the top 10 mobile networks. As I said, that's a slightly different use case on the whole. And 7 of the 10 top largest tech companies, particularly the SaaS providers. So when you're using their SaaS service, we're protecting it in the background. So here's a kind of further breakdown. So you see there's a big federal division, a big service provider division, and then a lot of different companies, some of which you'll notice and recognize the logos for in the enterprise space. So next I want to take you through a real-world case study. So we are looking here at a large international bank. It's serving about 13 million customers worldwide. And it's actually based over in Europe. And I was at a CISO conference a couple of weeks in Europe. And the CISOs were talking about, how you basically outsource your security and then you insource it again on about a 3-year rotation. So you outsource it because the management were convinced it would be better to be done outside and it was going to be cheaper and more secure. Then the reality strikes after about 3 years, so they bring it back in-house. Then they decide in 3 years' time you're still not doing a good job, so they go out again, in again, out again. So this was actually a case where they were coming in again, I guess. So they were insourcing some of their security back in-house. And one of the big concerns they had was on the inline. So they had a big tension with the networking team on the new data center they were building because of the number of tools that they wanted to put in line. And so some of the key initiatives where they're putting in Cisco IPS and FireEye APT, some email and some other things. And, this is a bank. If your customers aren't happy, they walk away and go to the next bank. So you really need to get things right. But they were looking to overcome a number of issues. And so as they looked it through, they worked out that by putting in our inline bypass solution, they would actually speed up the way the tools worked. So first, they realized that on the IPS system, which was giving them concern because of the size and the speed of the network coming in, whether the IPS system would scale to the peak times. And first they worked out by putting in our IPS system, they could load balance across. So they had the option of putting in more IPS systems. They already actually had the FireEye APT system, but they had it in an HA pair. So they had one on standby and one that was active. And so one of the things they also noticed by putting in our architecture was they could make them both active. And again, load balance across the two. So they immediately doubled the capacity of their APT system on their design without actually having to make any purchases. And they also were going to feed the data from the data centers to their out-of-band detection tools. So instead of having out-of-band detection tools in every data center, or as we saw earlier, on every segment of the network, they're going to put those in a centralized farm and bring the traffic back to them. Because once you get out of band, if you've got a few extra milliseconds delay in getting the packets to it, it doesn't make that much difference. So what was the result? Well, when they looked at their initial plan, and they'd worked with multiple service providers to come up with solutions, their immediate cost savings were $20 million, just in the cost of the tools that they were going to buy to service all these different data centers and branches, etc. Just the reduction by bringing it centrally, they saved an immediate $20 million. And they had ongoing costs that they were going to save. They were able to mitigate, and I've just realized I've got that's the problem with having these anonymous case studies. I've got the wrong one here. This was actually a bank in Asia, in Asia Pac. So this is an Asia Pac bank. So, so they had the 20 million savings, they had the ongoing savings. The other thing was the security, so this wasn't outsource, insource. This was a different scenario. I'll come to that one next. Apologies for that. And one of the things that they did was this was bought by the security team for a security use case. But they actually had an incident involving one of their public banks where the website wasn't working properly. And customers were beginning to complain, noise was going on Twitter. Finally, it hit the national news and it went to a P1 incident because they weren't able to find out what was happening. Now, with the infrastructure that we'd put in, after 5 days of it being a P1 and they were spending millions of dollars bringing people in to try and find out what this problem was before all their customers left, someone said, oh, you do realize we're collecting all the data from around the branches and everything for security purposes? You could take that data. So they took that data, they fed it into a Riverbed, I can't remember the exact network monitoring and application monitoring device it was. They fed it into a Riverbed device. Within 5 hours, they'd found that they actually had a stuck load balancer that was causing problems, intermittent problems, because depending which way the traffic was routed. So not only did it solve their security problems, but it actually helped with their networking issues as well. Okay, the next one is a European bank. So apologies, I got it the wrong way around. It's a problem of not having note slides. It's actually headquartered in the UK. This is the one where they were insourcing again from a deployment. They wanted to deploy Cisco FireEye, Cisco Firepower, and FireEye NX. And as I said in the last one, they were having problems with how's that going to impact the network. So I've already told you about this one. So the answer was that actually it didn't impact the network. In fact, it improved the network performance by putting our architecture in, because they're able to send just the traffic that needed to be seen to the right tools. So it was an 18-month project. It had a lot of equipment that came from us to solve the problems. It was a very large installation, but they were able to maximize their uptime. They deployed the IPS with minimum production changes. And one of the things that they really liked about this was it was very easy for them to take something out of band to in band. You literally just put a little command in or made a change on the GUI, and it would take something from inline to out of band. So the networking team that were very concerned, particularly with the IPS, in certain cases stalling the network, they gave them the confidence that if that did ever happen, they just needed to do this simple thing and it would solve it. And so they were happy and let it through. The other thing that they really liked about it was that meant as they looked at future tools, they were able to bring them in and POC very easily. And it's interesting, I was at our RSA a few weeks back, and I was doing a a session. It was an open session that anyone could come to with the former CISO of Bloomberg, who happens to now work at Gigamon. And we kind of got there 15 minutes early, and the previous session finished, and then the next session started to fill. And 10 minutes before we started, it was completely packed audience. And there was kind of glass perspex screen to the back, and people were standing the other side trying to hear as well. And our topic was how easy it is with this infrastructure to run a POC. So this CISO who was at Bloomberg, when he wanted to test new security tools, it was a major project setting up with a networking team to be able to allow him to get it into the network, to test it, etc. Whereas with this infrastructure, you can literally, let's say you wanted to change your web application firewall. You could choose 2 or 3 vendors, put them side by side, feed them the same traffic, decide which one's operating best, put it in line, take it out of line, without disrupting the network at all. And so that was one of the things that this bank really liked as well. It also gave them investment protection for the future, so particularly with SSL. So they looked at that problem of decrypt, do I care about it, re-encrypt. Decrypt, do I care about it, re-encrypt. With a Gigamon solution, you can just decrypt at the top of the stack. We know how many tools it's going through. We'll feed it through the necessary number of tools. So we'll decrypt it, send it clear text to the first tool, which will send it clear text to the next tool, which will send it clear text to the next tool, which will come back to us, and we re-encrypt it. And we can send that to all the out-of-band tools as well. So you just decrypt once, inspect many times. So what kind of cost savings can you come across? So here are some examples of some of the typical cost savings that you get with Gigamon and versus without Gigamon. So on an IPX system, you could have, let's say you had a 3.1 million CapEx and a 3.1 million OpEx. After Gigamon, you typically see about a third of a reduction in that. So these are the kind of savings that we typically see. Now, obviously, it will depend how complex your network is, how many tools. You've seen from one of the examples I gave earlier, you can have very big instant savings. And I actually have a couple more of those from service provider, interestingly enough, where they started to use us on their enterprise side, where they had very large savings as well. So these are some of the examples. I won't go through them all, but you basically see that you can expect a 50% to a 30% reduction, not only in your CapEx, because you're buying less tools, but if you've got less tools, you're supporting less tools. So you've got less support costs going on, which require less staff, which help with the staffing problem, which is less complexity, which helps with the ever-growing complexity problem. And in terms of the urgency, when you need to do an upgrade, you can just take a tool. Let's say if we go back to that bank, remember they had 2 FireINXs. If a CVE had come out on those FireINXs, they could have taken one out of line, upgraded it, and they could have either waited to put it back in line, or they could have put it back in line and taken the other out of line and waited to make sure that the vulnerability didn't have side effects. Sometimes you fix one thing and you found the vendor broke 10 other things. Well, it gives you that ability to just stage it and get it there just as you need it. So with that, I will hand back for some final questions, and then we'll end this session and move on to the next.
ครับเดี๋ยวขอ wrap up อีกทีหนึ่งนะครับจากเซสชันนี้นะครับจะเป็นพูดเรื่องของ cost เป็นหลักนะครับจากตารางคาเปกเมื่อกี้นะครับเขาบอกว่าด้วยวิธีการทำงานที่เป็นเรื่องของการ deduplication ก็คือลดการซ้ำซ้อนของข้อมูลนะครับข้อมูลที่มันเหมือนกันก็ยุบเหลือชุดเดียวการ filtering เฉพาะ traffic ที่ทูนั้นต้องการยกตัวอย่างเช่นเว็บแอปไฟบอลต้องการแค่80443นะครับเราทำการ filter traffic โปรโตคอลนั้นส่งไปที่ทูเรื่องของการทำSSL decryption ทำให้เราไม่ต้องซื้อไลเซนส์ SSL decryption ทุก tool ที่มีอยู่นะครับนั่นก็คือทำให้เราสามารถลดต้นทุนที่จะต้องใช้ภายใน5ปีได้ลงอย่างสูงอย่างตารางก็จะมีจาก IPS 4 ตัว APT 4 ตัวก็จะเหลือ2ตัวเท่านั้นนะครับแล้วก็สามารถอีก use case หนึ่งที่ทางผมเจอบ่อยๆก็จะเป็นเรื่องของการอัปเกรดเน็ตเวิร์กเป็น10 กิกแล้วแต่ security tool ยังเป็น1 กิกอยู่นะครับ utilize มันให้คุ้มนะครับเราสามารถที่จะทำได้ตรงนี้ นะครับมีคำถามเพิ่มเติมไหมครับที่สงสัยในส่วนของสไลด์นี้โอเคครับจริงๆเดินมาถามผมก็ได้นะตอนเบรกภาษาคุยกันใกล้ชิดดีเดี๋ยวส่งต่อเซสชั่น
โอเคค่ะเราได้ฟัง case study thank you เกฮามโอเคค่ะเราได้ฟัง case study ตัวอย่างการลดการเพิ่มประสิทธิภาพของอุปกรณ์ต่างๆต่างประเทศแล้วเดี๋ยวต่อไปทาง Daniel Channel Account Manager สกิกมอนเราจะพูดถึงใน local ในไทยเองอะค่ะก็มี case study เช่นเดียวกันค่ะโอเค Daniel โอเค
Good afternoon. Hi, good afternoon. Thanks for coming today. Daniel, I will speak in English as well, so pardon me. So today I'm going to give a short presentation talking about two use cases in Thailand itself. Yeah. So firstly, so this is a major group of bank in Thailand, right? So they have just upgraded into a new data center. Basically, it's based out of Cisco ACI. So what are the challenges? So for this customer itself, they have visibility requirement for their fraud as well as for their security and network performance monitoring. So if you look at this such itself, it's like they have lots and lots of traffic, tons of them. How are you going to fit it to the monitoring tools? And for a Cisco ACI, very high capacity infrastructure, 40 gig kind of interface, how am I going to get all this traffic into security as well as the network monitoring tools itself? So of course, working with our partners and working with the customer itself, we deploy what we call the GigaTab and the GigaSmart function. And we send specific kind of protocol to the tools for analysis. Yeah. And because it's a big bank in Thailand itself, they also have multiple sites. So in order to help the customer in the, some kind of CapEx saving, we also help the customer to tunnel traffic from different branches to the central branches so that they can consolidate all their traffic into a centralized location. And the result is that with their new data center, Cisco ACI architecture, now they have complete 100% visibility for their monitoring and security tools itself. Yeah. So let me show you the diagram. So this will be the kind of architecture they are deployed together with Gigamon. So as you can see in the diagram itself, it says this will be their Cisco ACI infrastructure. And as you can see, with one touch of the network using Gigamon, now I'm able to see all the traffic, everything. Yeah. As what Graham has mentioned before, these are the tools in particular for this customer that they are deploying. So in these cases, there are 3 monitoring security tools as well. One for the fraud, one for the security, and one for the performer, a sniffer. But all these security monitoring fraud tools itself, they can't do their job. They need traffic from the network. Yeah, that's why Gigamon is helping this customer to consolidate all the traffic into a single visibility security platform. From here, I am passing the right traffic to the right tools. Yeah, so in future, this customer, they will add more monitoring tools, more security tools. And when that happens, we don't have to disturb the network. Yeah, we will just come to the Gigamon. Gigamon will be able to deliver and pass on to the traffic to the right tools. And why is this important? Because with this architecture in place itself, the network operation, the network uptime will not be impacted. Graham also mentioned that, for banking or for any corporation out in the world today, network uptime is very important. If your SLA is no good, customer can go from one bank to the other. Yeah, so this will help the network operation team as well for the business itself. If you have any question, please ask. I have Mai here who will help me as well. So please ask if you have a question to ask about these use cases. Okay. So second use cases, I'm going. So by the way, just now I talked about the big bank because they have multiple data center in Thailand. So as you can see, they have another site, and we are also able to tunnel back the traffic from different DC to a centralized data center so that all the monitoring tools, all the traffic are being centralized in the central location. Okay. The next use cases is what we call an inline bypass solution. So this is more tailored to the inline security preventive security solution, meaning we are connecting to IPS, we are connecting to APT solution that is allowing as well as denying the traffic flow, and how Gigamon become an essential element for this kind of architecture. So again, the solution is the bypass module for ATP. So they slided a particular ATP solution, a sandboxing solution, to look at the malware. They need to be deployed inline because of the security threat. Yeah. So this will be a model from Gigamon itself. We call it a HC1 with an inline bypass. And this particular network is based on 1 gig copper. And as you can see that we are able to deliver traffic and load share to different inline security appliances. Let me show you the diagram. So this is how you work. So we are in between the firewall and the core switches itself. And this will be what we call the ATP solution, the inline security that's doing the sandboxing. Whatever traffic coming down through the firewall, Gigamon will deliver the traffic to this inline preventive security solution, and they will open up the traffic, whether to decide to allow or deny the traffic going through. Yeah. Once you have finished the analytics, pass it on to Gigamon, we will send it down. Okay, so we call this the active path. Of course, for this particular customer, he has a backup firewall or what we call a redundant pair as well. They also have another one that's connecting to our HC1 as well. So this is a phase one. Yeah, so customer has deployed this inline preventive security solution just like many other customers of Gigamon. Usually, customer will also decide to deploy other inline security solution. For example, IPS. Yeah, that's another one, inline security preventive solution. Or WAF, web application firewall. Yeah. So when the times come, these flexible Gigamon security dealing platform, when the customer decided to add other inline security solution, they can just plug into Gigamon without affecting the network traffic or affecting the traffic downtime, so that we maintain the network uptime at the highest level. Yeah. So this one will help the customer to scale their inline preventive security platform as the business grow or the networks grow itself. Yeah. The other key thing about this kind of architecture is that sometimes we also help the customer in what we call a refresh kind of scenario. For example, in this case itself, sometimes for this particular customer, this is 1 gig copper. But in some of my other customer itself, sometimes the network side is 10 gig interface or even 40 gig interface. So in a way, we also can help the customer to save on the CapEx as well as the OpEx itself by leveraging their existing inline security platform. Maybe it's a platform that you have invested 2 years ago, is based on 1 gig interface or a 10 gig interface. We can help the customer to reinvest this investment, because whenever you have a network upgrade to a higher speed, for example 10 gig or 40 gig, we still can connect to your inline security appliances based on the 1 gig interface or the 10 gig interfaces. Yeah. So sometimes one of my customers is that sometimes the throughput of the inline security platform is not high enough because it's 1 gig interface. But the throughput of the network is not growing as fast as 1 gig to 10 gig. Maybe it grows from 1 gig to 2 gig. It's okay. We still can use back this one because we have the load sharing capability. So you can buy a similar model still on 1 gig interface, which will be cheaper, and then we can help you to load share the 2 gig appliances together and work in the same fashion. The other things that what interesting here is that we also do what we call inline SSL. Yeah, and later my other colleagues will talk about all these features as well. So on this platform itself, we also can enable inline SSL so that we can decrypt the traffic, and then when we send the traffic to the inline preventive security solution, the traffic will be in clear text. Because nowadays, the actor or the hacker are hiding all their malware inside the encrypted traffic. Yeah. So it become a very flexible security platform. We can enable the SSL buying additional module and turn on the license. Yeah. Okay. So this is my last slide, a short presentation. I'm open to question, and Mike can help me to answer if let's say you have any question for me. Yeah. Yep.
มีคำถามไหมคะ ถามเป็นภาษาไทยได้เลยค่ะมีคำถามไหมคะโอเคได้ค่ะ
Okay, Mr. Daniel, I have one question for the device that you connect to your Gigamon secure. Those can be from the shelf. We can buy from the market.
Yes. So these are what we call in our term we call ecosystem partner. So this could be other vendors' solution like IPS. Yeah, so different vendors IPS because we are totally 100% agnostic. So if you have IPS of your choice, we can definitely connect. Same for sandboxing solution, same for the WAF as well.
Okay. Second question is about your device here.
Yep.
I used to work with the Gigamon, and I know that the Gigamon device can draw the data in line,
Yes.
real time, right?
Yes.
And in this, from what you are present here, I found that your Gigamon device now can analyze some traffic data. It's like the new generation compared to the past. Can I ask you a question? Like, can this device analyze the data, the inline data in the organization during to see the employees or the person that they do something that is not secure?
Okay. Yeah, good question. So Gigamon itself pride ourselves because we are being a market leader. So as you can see from the network side itself, we are agnostic to the network, meaning you can choose the router and switches of your choice. It can be 1 gig interface, 10 gig, 40 gig, or 100 gig. So we are completely agnostic. On the security appliances, let's say reporting, forensic, IDS, sandboxing, again, we are completely agnostic. Meaning, having said that, I'm on inline. I see all the packets itself. We do SSL. We do GigaSmart function to help the customer to optimize the tools. So in a way, we are not doing what other vendor solutions are doing out there. Meaning, I see all the data. I may transform the data. I may decrypt the data. But I don't want to deny or stop the data because I'm not an IPS. I'm not a firewall. But I help the IPS. I help the APT solution. So in a way, we maintain our position as an agnostic security platform. And different customers will have their preferred security or reporting monitoring tools. And we can definitely work together with those vendors that you have selected. Yeah.
Thank you.
ครับก็คือโดยสรุปนะครับGigamon เนี่ยจะเป็นแพลตฟอร์มที่เวิร์กกับ Eco Partner ก็คือ Vendor ทางด้าน Network Application Performance Monitor หรือ security นะครับโดยที่ Gigamon เนี่ยจะช่วย extract traffic เป็น holistic ทั้งองค์กรนะครับไปให้ tool เหล่านั้นโดยที่จากผมขอเสริมรูปนี้นิดนึงนะครับอันนี้จะเป็นการ manage ในเรื่องของ inline ก็คือ not south traffic นะครับแต่ในทางที่เราทำในทาง security เราทำเพิ่มได้อีกก็คือเราสามารถเอา not south traffic ตรงนี้ mirror ออกมาได้ด้วยโดยที่ไปประสานกับ east west traffic ที่อยู่ภายในองค์กรนะครับมันก็จะทำให้ CM หรือ IDS หรือ WAF ที่อยู่ภายในองค์กรเนี่ยสามารถเห็นภาพที่มันครบมันก็จะเก่งขึ้นแล้วก็คมขึ้นชาร์ปขึ้นเวลาวิเคราะห์หรือเจอ incident มันก็จะแม่นขึ้นนะครับอันนี้ผมขอเสริมเรื่องของ inline bypass ครับมีคำถามเพิ่มเติมไหมครับ
มีไหมคะโอเคถ้าไม่มีเดี๋ยวเราพักเบรก20 นาทีนะคะก็เดี๋ยวก่อนพักเบรกก็มีแบบสอบถามค่ะจะรบกวนช่วยกรอกแบบสอบถามแล้วส่งคืนที่โต๊ะลงทะเบียนนะคะเพื่อแลกรับของที่ระลึกรวมถึงท่านใดที่นำรถมาสแกนบัตรจอดรถได้ที่ตรงโต๊ะลงทะเบียนเช่นกันค่ะเดี๋ยวพักเบรก20 นาทีค่ะขอบคุณค่ะ